we're back.
I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin. And we are the Horror Guys.
We got movies this week, don't we?
We got 4 movies and a short.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Well, first up, we're going to watch the Universal Studios movie, The Tower of London from 1939, followed by the contemporary classic,
Weir?
Weir?
I think Weir, like werewolf.
I always thought it was werewolf.
You don't wear it. You don't wear it. Where?
Well, anyway, the werewolf movie from 2013, discussion of the short film The Birch, the very new horror movie Cam from 2018.
A Netflix exclusive.
It is.
Yeah.
And our international feature film Possession from 1981.
A classic.
Yeah,
So
sort
they
of.
say.
So they say. First up, Tower of London from 1939 Universal.
Now, this was a little bit chilling and a little bit shocking, I suppose, especially for the time. It wasn't a horror movie. It's one of the Universal things in the package where they say, you know, it's...
They released 52 horror movies called Shock Theater that went out to all the theaters and later on the TV shows. I remember I used to watch a TV show called Shock Theater from Dayton. Had Dr. Creep was the host. It was very cool.
Yeah.
But they showed all these old movies and a lot more. But it was called Shock Theater. And it was all the famous Universal horror movies and a few that didn't quite fit in there. Like 2 weeks ago we watched Night Key that we both kind of liked even though it really wasn't horror.
Mm-hmm.
This also really wasn't horror.
And we didn't like it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Director Roland Lee. Writer Robert N. Lee. Not Robert E. Lee.
No, it's got the horror people in it.
Stars Basil Rathbone, Boris Karloff, Barbara O'Neill, and a very young Vincent Price.
3rd movie appearance.
Yeah,
He was
only
a
done
youngster.
2 things before this.
Well, just youngster. He was in his 30s, but, you know.
Young
Yeah.
for him, considering how old he got.
Yeah. It took me a few minutes to recognize him.
I was expecting him. It's one of the reasons I wanted to watch this one. Because we knew it wasn't horror going into it this time. So in 1471, Edward IV has violently deposed feeble old King Henry VI and now holds him prisoner. Sort of based on true events, sort of based on Shakespeare's play.
Loosely based on the Shakespeare.
Very loosely.
Very loosely. And which was very loosely based on history. So, sort of real people, sort of real events.
Based on a story suggested by history.
Yeah.
We start off with Boris Karloff as Mord, the executioner.
The man of 500 faces.
He's getting ready to execute Lord de Vere.
And I am impressed with how distinctly different he was able to make himself look.
Yeah.
Here he's
Bald.
and
more
got
or less
a hawkish nose. His nose was different.
I thought that was his real nose.
No,
Okay.
it was a prosthetic piece.
It's a pretty good nose then.
Yeah, boldened up the eyebrows a bit more, and
Yeah.
distinctly different look.
Recognizable though, unlike some of his characters.
Yeah.
So there's an interminably long scene where they all prepare for the execution, and at long last, Karloff removes de Vere's head. Chop.
Yeah. But it's 1939, so there's no blood, and it's pretty tame as far as the special effects and so forth. You know, there's not gore.
Yeah, there's no blood at all.
Yeah.
Which is odd when somebody loses their head.
Hmm.
After things wrap up with the execution, we see that the king's brother Richard has little dolls that represent all his enemies in a little cupboard. He explains to us that all of these men are between him and the throne.
And he's, what, 6th in line at this
Yeah,
point?
there's a few ahead of him.
Yeah, he's going to work on that.
So have you ever watched a movie or a TV show where the villain has the little dolls in the cupboard? Yeah, they just had it first.
Yeah.
Richard and Edward need to solidify an alliance, so they force Wyatt to marry the Duchess of Norfolk, even though he is betrothed to Alice.
The politics were a little complicated. The intrigues and the...
You don't really need to understand the politics.
Yeah.
Wyatt, you're going to marry this old lady, and Wyatt doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He refuses, so Edward threatens to remove his head and plans to follow through with it. But Wyatt breaks free from the guards, and Mord tackles him easily. It's actually the most physical I've ever seen Boris Karloff get. He tackled the guy and wrestled him to the ground.
Yeah, it wasn't a stunt double. He was really doing it. Yeah.
The Duke of Wales then attacks, and Richard and Edward see it as an opportunity. They trick the unstable old king into leading the battle with the assumption that someone is going to cut him down.
And the battle, the choreography of the fight battle was something else. I mean, it's like the director said, okay, now you're on this side and you're on this side, and just go
Fight.
together and clang your weapons together and make some rattling noises. Clang, 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 clang.
Large scale, though, lots of people, lots of
There
extras.
was, yeah, a lot of extras. But
So the old king doesn't even realize they'll be fighting against his own son. There's a great big battle with hundreds of extras fighting each other. Richard defeats Wales in single combat. The old king is confused, but survives the battle. Old King Henry comes home a hero, but Mord kills him on Richard's orders. Richard then removes one of the dolls from his little throne room diorama and burns it.
he didn't have a maniacal laugh while he was doing it,
should
though.
have.
Yeah, he just kind of grinned.
The king and Richard scheme to fix it so that Anne, the widow of Wales, can only be spared if she marries Richard. This builds up Richard's power to the point where it takes power and money away from the Duke of Clarence, played by Vincent Price. Clarence threatens, "You'll be sorry." Clarence then starts plotting revenge, only he says it in Vincent Price's voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't a very good impression.
It was vaguely. Yeah.
Mord hears about the conspiracy from one of his little birds, who quickly arrests Clarence.
Yeah, he's kind of like the minister of propaganda and executioner, and general henchman for this guy.
Game of Thrones fans, figure Varys if he had a big axe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he hears about the conspiracy and quickly arrests Clarence. Richard challenges.
Drinking contest.
Yeah, Richard challenges Clarence to a drinking contest to win his freedom. Clarence, who's constantly drinking, is eager to take up the challenge. Clarence wins, but Richard and Mord drown him in a huge barrel of wine.
And he didn't even really win. He was faking it. He wasn't nearly as drunk as he pretended to be.
And they didn't even need to have the drinking contest to
They
do
didn't.
that.
No, he was just being sadistic and.
One more doll
Playing with
taken down.
Mm-hmm. One step closer to the throne.
The following year, King Edward gets very sick and dies. Before he dies, he pardons Wyatt, who is now free to return to the castle. One of Edward's sons will succeed him, but Richard is named his protector until the son comes of age. He tricks the old queen into allowing the young king's brother to come stay with them. The queen suspects that this is just a ploy to kill them both, but she's got nothing to say about it. She's got no say in this. It is. It's very clear, yeah.
They kill kids in this. Yeah. They don't show it, but, I mean, yeah. It's kind of brutal and shocking, and I mean, so it's it's kind of horrifying, horrific, but
Well, a lot of people die.
Not horror, no. But,
The Queen conspires with Wyatt to steal the treasure from the Tower of London, which they do very easily. Very easily.
And the treasure, it's like the royal jewels, and they open these treasure chests, and it's just this jumble of stuff.
Piles
it's not
of
on
jewelry
display or
and necklaces.
protected or anything. It's just
there.
thrown in there.
They capture Wyatt and torture him. Alice comes down the chimney and gives Wyatt a file to work on the chains. That night, Wyatt escapes. In retaliation, Richard has Mord take the two young princes to the tower. Mord then kills both of them. Finally, the only doll in the box is Richard's own. On the other hand, Wyatt takes the treasure to Richard's enemy, Henry Tudor, who plans to retake the kingdom. There's another big battle. Henry kills Richard, and then Mord. Afterward, Wyatt and Alice get married and live happily ever after. The end.
Yeah. Mord was kind of reluctant about killing the boys.
He had second thoughts, but he did it.
But he went through with it because
Yeah.
Why was he so dedicated to this guy though?
Because he had the club foot and he was kind of a cripple, and maybe
Yeah.
he should have been executed himself or thrown out and exiled from the village the way they do.
Gave him money and power.
He gave him a
prestige
chance.
And, good career.
So anyway, I didn't even notice until the end that Richard has a hunchback. He is
real
the
subtle.
Shakespearean Richard III.
But it's real subtle. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mord has a clean-shaven head and is clearly also the master of whispers as he gets information and gives orders to his little birds.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Karloff really does have very little to do here, as Mord isn't much more than a background character.
Mm-hmm.
Still, he bears a lot of similarities to a certain Game of Thrones character.
More brutal, but yeah.
Yeah. Didn't get burned up by spoilers.
And he didn't tell you every 10 minutes that he's a eunuch.
We recently rewatched Game of Thrones. Every single time Varys comes on the screen,
Varys
somebody mentions
brings
that.
it up. Either he brings it up or somebody brings it up. You never forget that
Never
he's a
get
eunuch.
to forget that.
Yeah.
I don't think we heard about Tyrion being a dwarf as many times.
Yeah.
There are a lot of extras in this movie, both in the battle scene and in the wedding scenes, and it all looks very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, it's no Game of Thrones. As far as non-horror Universal films go, I enjoyed The Night Key a few weeks ago, but this one, I was just waiting for it to end.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah. Basil, is it Basil?
I think it's Basil.
Basil's
the spice is basil. The man is Basil.
The man is Basil. Basil's performance as Richard was
Fine.
pretty amazing,
Yeah.
as far as acting goes. Just every step being measured, and every line you could tell he was calculating, playing the long game to get the game, to win the Game of Thrones.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and he does sort of win for a while.
Maybe I'm giving my age away here, but when I was little in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
before DVDs and videotapes and all that,
Mm-hmm.
we were given, my parents bought me records, big old 33 RPM records with horror stories on them. You remember any of those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
One of the ones I had a segment on. It was like a collection of horror stories one of them was about the Tower of London, and how the Queen would have people sent up there to be executed, and their ghosts all stayed behind.
Haunted.
The treasure was there, but so were all the good. It was a good story.
Mm-hmm.
They could have done something like that for this.
Well, there's
really very little to do with the Tower of London.
Tower of London 1962 version with Vincent Price again that I think is more along those lines.
With ghosts and actual horror.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll probably get to that eventually.
This had no ghosts.
No ghosts.
Yeah.
No monsters.
Yeah. Overall, I'd say give it a watch.
If you want to.
Yeah. But don't
Universal,
expect horror.
completionist, you gotta watch it.
Mm-hmm.
For entertainment value, if you want horror, no.
Yeah.
If you just want to watch a movie, sure, why not?
And Vincent Price hadn't discovered horror yet.
Very young Vincent Price. That was interesting.
That comes soon after this, but his initial works weren't horror.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the ones later on, like in The Fly,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't the villain or the monster. He was just a guy in that movie.
Well, but horror movies.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of horror movies, we saw an actual horror movie
An
this
actual
week
movie.
with werewolves.
The werewolf movie you've been waiting to see.
Where? W-E-R, from 2013.
And I had never heard of this even before.
I had never heard of this
We got
either.
into this.
A couple weeks ago, I was looking for a foreign werewolf movie because I couldn't think of any, and put the call out on Twitter, and somebody suggested, hey, get Were from 2013.
And this is sort of a foreign movie.
Close enough.
Yeah.
It's not foreign language,
But it's in France.
Yeah, it takes place in France.
Mm-hmm.
Director, William Brent Bell. Written by William Brent Bell and Matthew Peterman. Stars A.J. Cook, Brian Scott O'Connor, and Sebastian Roche, or Roche.
Are we giving spoilers in this?
1 hour, 29 minutes, and there's a spoiler.
We should warn people if we're giving spoilers on this one.
First of all, we
this
both
is one
really like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to give it a good thumbs up, but you should probably pause the video or pause the podcast, watch this, and then come back. Because there are some really good surprises.
There
in
are,
this.
yeah. You wonder,
and we're going to spoil it.
You wonder what's going on, and you find out, and we don't want to tell you without warning you that we're going to tell you, or mention various things. Going to watching it cold, I think I really enjoyed it more.
I'm going to go a solid 9 on this one.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
not
we both
not
like
quite
it.
perfect, but it was really good.
There we go. A family was vacationing in rural France. The family dog goes berserk and runs off, and the husband goes after him. He's killed by the werewolf, mostly off-screen, who then eats the son, too.
And this
Also
is
off-screen.
This is a footage they were filming, and so we see the footage, and then there's a news montage.
Yeah,
of
it's not
the
a found
story.
footage movie, but this part is.
Yeah, story news montage explains what happened, and they're Well, you might be
Yeah.
the next thing
The
you're
mother
talking about. Yeah.
Eats the son too. Then the mother wakes up in the hospital and is interviewed by the police. The news reports that it's an animal attack, but they can't figure out what kind of animal. The mother explains on police tape that it was more of a hairy man than an animal. She's pretty torn up, so her testimony isn't real reliable. Talon Gwynek is then arrested for the murder. He lives 2 miles from the attack, but he had no motive or criminal history. The public defender, Kate, is an American lawyer, and she's pretty sure she can get him off since it was just an animal attack. The lawyer goes to visit him, and they say that he's got a strange disease called porphyria. He's over 7 feet tall, has huge hands, limited mobility, and he's really, really hairy. His bones are too long and too weak for his body.
And he seems really meek and
He does.
Yeah,
He's very
unhealthy.
quiet.
Yeah.
Still, the guards are terrified of him because he's like Chewbacca
Intimidating.
size.
Yeah.
But she demands they take the cuffs off. Things go badly, and he scratches Gavin, one of the defenders, helpers, in the scuffle.
Well, they had a history. He was a animal expert that she brought in. And
To identify the animal bite and testify if necessary.
they had a relationship in the past.
Yeah.
Ex-boyfriend thing.
Talon's father recently died in a car accident. His mother thinks the police have targeted Talon because they want the family's land to make a nuclear waste dumping ground. I mean, of all the things to buy land for.
Special clay. It's especially dense on their land, and so the government wants it. They've been holding out.
The police immediately deny any connection to the waste dump proposal. Oh, not us. We didn't know.
Yeah.
The defender goes to look at the bodies in the morgue, and there's surprisingly little left of the man and the boy.
And it was very graphic.
Yeah, it's got some good dummy model work there.
And they were seriously eaten.
Eaten, yes. Not just bitten, eaten.
Eaten, yeah.
Talon cannot remember what he was doing the night of the attack, as he has episodes every once in a while. Evidence shows up that may indicate that the father's car accident was suspicious. Could the police be involved in a cover-up? No. Meanwhile, Gavin starts getting sick. Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
It looks like it, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know how these movies work. It probably is. The inspector gets a call from a farmer whose livestock was just attacked by a monster from hell. It turns out there's a large grizzly bear on the loose, and the police kill it pretty easily.
But that in itself is freakish too, because the police inspector says there hasn't been a bear in France in 200 years.
Yeah, and it's a big bear too.
Yeah. So that's kind of but it's kind of a red herring. Like, oh well, it was just a bear then.
But it's not enough to get Talon off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
They then transfer Talon to the hospital where they can test for porphyria, which involves a strobing light.
And meanwhile, too, while this is going on, the lawyer's other associate is replaying the video scuffle in the cell. It was kind of a confusing thing. He didn't really attack them, but they all jumped on him, and Gavin was scratched in the process. It's not real clear
Who did what?
Who scratched him. Yeah, and so there's some question: is he a werewolf? Is anybody a werewolf? And
even after watching the tape 3 or 4
there's
times,
up to a
you
certain
can't see
point.
what happens.
There's up to a certain clear point in the movie, and then you don't wonder anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so when the strobing light is applied, he hulks out on the guys in the surgical theater. Have you seen the Marvel Hulk movies? Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Busts out of his restraints, kills
everyone,
half a dozen people graphically, violently. Yeah, just tears the place up and runs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric starts researching werewolves and sees on the recording that Talon bit Gavin. It wasn't just a scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight is going to be the full moon, someone mentions. Gavin then tests himself for porphyria, slicing his own eyeball with a glass slide in the process. You got to take a piece of glass and rub it to your eyeball.
Tissue sample.
Yeah, he's not very good at it and cuts his eyeball.
Well, you're not supposed to.
It's just a
do it
gore
yourself.
shot.
Yeah.
They track Talon to a building downtown, and after a standoff, Talon finally changes into his final form and kills a bunch more cops.
Heavily armored.
Oh yeah, these guys are machine
police.
gun, and bulletproof vests, and he tears them up.
And then he jumps out the 10th floor window and lands on all fours, and he's just fine.
He's just boom, and runs away.
And runs away, yeah.
Gavin tells Kate about his injury, the infection, and what he thinks may happen to him, and then he gives her a gun, just in case. The others go hunting from Talon and leave Gavin behind. They track Talon to a cave full of human bones.
On the farm.
On the farm. Gavin finds a secret room back at the house. Inside the secret room is a secure chair, presumably where they would tie Talon up once a month.
The timeout chair.
Yeah. The inspector shoots Talon about a dozen times. Talon's got to be dead now.
Laughs it off.
No,
he doesn't laugh it off, but
they shoot him. He falls down. They all assume he's dead. And they load him into the ambulance and take him to the morgue.
And he was completely faking it.
Yeah, he's faking it.
And that scene I thought was so awesome because they show the convoy of not military, police vehicles, ambulance, police, helicopter overhead following, and you see the ambulance start to swerve a little bit, and then run
what's
off the
happening
road
inside.
and flip over, and he wasn't dead.
Meanwhile, Gavin finds Talon's mother and beats her to death. It's kind of out of the blue there. Rather than become...
the rage is coming on him.
Okay,
the wolf rage is starting to affect him.
You'd be mad too. Rather than become a normal-looking werewolf...
Well, because she knew all this time and she was covering him.
Yeah.
And he was pretty pissed off about that.
Rather than become a normal-looking werewolf, he shaves his head. Rather than a hairy werewolf, he now looks like the guy from Split.
Yeah, a little bit.
They load Talon's body into an ambulance, but he escapes once again, running on all fours like a big dog. It's really good effect.
And very fast.
Yeah, very fast.
Yeah.
Before long, Kate's the only one left, and Talon catches her. Gavin intervenes, and soon it's werewolf versus werewolf. And it gets good.
Yeah. Oh, it's been good. Yeah.
It's been good for a while at that point.
Yeah. It was short, and they got to the point, and very entertaining, and gory and actiony, and
no slow points.
No.
A lot of explanation in the beginning, but it's interesting, and the end is a lot of action.
Yeah, and I really like how they made you wonder.
For a while, we suspected it may have been the police inspector was the werewolf.
That he was covering the whole thing up.
Yeah.
That transition where it becomes very clear.
The suspect from the beginning really is the bad guy here.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't look it.
Yeah.
This is not a found footage movie, so why did the director use a handheld shaky cam so much?
Yeah, a little bit too much.
It's generally used as a trick to make boring scenes look more interesting. The problem is that the exposition in this movie isn't boring, so the shaky cam is just kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, director's choice.
Didn't like that part.
Yeah, could have done without that.
Porphyria is a real disease, and the symptoms are often cited as one of the possible sources of the original vampire myths. For real, look it up on Wikipedia. It involves an aversion to sunlight, anemia, and other blood-related symptoms. It's not really that similar to a werewolf symptoms, though. But it's a story, not a medical drama.
Yeah.
If it was a vampire movie and they blamed it on porphyria, that would make a lot more sense. The movie starts out a little slow, but it picks up about halfway in. It's got a lot of surprises, and the ending is very good. Totally recommend watching this one.
Total thumbs up.
Best werewolf movie I've seen this year.
It's one of my favorite werewolf movies.
What other ones have we seen this year?
We saw
High Moon. That's
Moon.
not much of a competitor.
I was going to say Full Moon, High Moon.
Yeah.
That's the only one we've seen this year, isn't it? Werewolves?
Werewolf of London.
Oh, yeah.
But that's kind of a classic and not great.
Yeah. This was...
Okay, so we haven't seen that many werewolf movies on this show yet.
Not this year.
We got more coming. So, short films.
Oh, yeah, we saw one called The Birch.
The Birch. 2017, directed by Ben Franklin and Anthony Milton.
Not the Ben Franklin.
As far as we know. Starring Aaron Thomas Ward, Karina Marlowe, and Charlie Venables. And we got a link for it in the show notes. Watch it on YouTube. Free, and it's a little less than 5 minutes. It's short. A teenager carries an old book into the forest. He seems to be casting some form of spell. We then flash back to him getting bullied and beaten up. An old woman tells him, "When I'm gone, she will look after you, protect you just as I have always done, just as she did for me." Probably his grandma, yeah. So he finds the marked tree in the forest and finishes his spell just as the bully catches up with him. Something happens to the bully. What'd you think?
What terrific special effects on that monster.
Yeah, that monster
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah.
The story is not much to speak of. I mean, the bully beats him up. He gets his revenge.
Mm-hmm.
But the monster is really cool. Whoever made that monster effect knew what they were doing.
They sure did.
Really went well.
Yeah, it's a practical effect.
Filmed
too.
well,
It's not a
looked
CGI.
well.
No.
Yeah, that's a good monster.
Mm-hmm. Big thumbs up for me on
Yeah,
that.
me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was good.
So we got the link to that. You should check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch it on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, watch any porn videos this week?
Well, sort of. I saw Cam.
Okay, it's not a porn video, but it's about porn videos, kinda.
Well, and this wasn't what I expected.
It's what
because
I expected either.
I thought she was like an Instagram famous kind of influencer.
I was
YouTube.
expecting it to be a YouTube video person.
Yeah.
It's not.
That's not what she is.
Cam, 2018, watch it on Netflix. Directed by Daniel Goldhaber. Written by Issa Mazai and Daniel Goldhaber. Starring Madeline Brewer, Patch Darragh, and Melora Walters. 1 hour, 34 minutes.
And again, we might mention a spoiler or two.
Yeah.
Not as crucial in this one, I don't think.
We both like this one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's... And we're going to spoil it here.
But
sorta.
I don't think it's... Yeah, and I don't think it'd be as crucial going into this one blind.
Yeah, it'd be good either way.
Yeah.
Actually, I read the spoilers for this one before we watched it, and I still thought it was really good.
I didn't.
Alice is a cam girl, calling herself Lola and spanking herself on camera for tip money.
Or anything the guys watching want.
They type in the chat room, take your shirt off, spank yourself, say this word, and she does it for money.
And it's a thing where the guys can tip. You tip tokens, and the more tokens the guys tip, the more.
And over on the side of the screen, she can see her ranking on the site.
Yeah.
And when the movie starts, she's at like 53 or something like that.
She's going for that top 50. Top 50.
She has a very generous audience. She blocks one annoying user, but he won't stay blocked. Use a knife. I want you to bleed, he says in the chat room. She pulls out a big old knife and threatens to kill herself. And the tip money goes way up. Mm-hmm. She then cuts her own throat and lays there dead. Blood shoots everywhere. After about a minute, she gets back up. It was all just a trick. The credits roll. That's all pre-credit stuff.
Pretty much. That was the credits, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was just getting started.
Yeah.
So she's happy with the rating. She's up to number 53 on the site now.
Yay.
She talks to Tinker, her friend who helps her with technical stuff, but blows him off for a paying customer. As in avoiding him, not blowing him off.
Right, yeah.
Later, Tink hears her invite the girl from the dollar store to a birthday party that he wasn't told about. Tink, who is infatuated with her, feels slighted. Mm-hmm. Barnacle Bob, they all have their online pseudonyms. Barnacle Bob keeps calling her, and now he starts buying her real gifts. They start talking about meeting in real life, when his wife comes home and the laptop gets shut real quick.
Yeah, gotta go. Lid close.
Meanwhile, Alice declines more of Tink's calls. Making Tink angry, I bet.
Yeah.
Tonight, she and a friend are going to the Chem Girl Club, big neon sign, Chem Girl Club, and ride the Vibratron on camera. And she expects it'll draw a big crowd.
Yeah,
they're having a great show, and they passed 50 finally.
And the center it's basically like this one woman's great big house, and she has little studio rooms.
Each bedroom is a different studio.
And the girls can go there and use the various furniture or the Vibratron or whatever.
Kind of a silly idea, but it gives the viewer an idea just how much competition there is in this field.
Yeah, they're struggling.
Because it's crowded.
Struggling to each be unique and stand out and get the tips and get the audience above the other girls when they're all doing weird and interesting things.
How do you get a bigger audience?
How do you stand out?
Take your shirt off and things like that, right?
Yeah, ride the Vibratron.
Does it work for YouTube?
Ride the Vibratron.
Does it work for YouTube?
Yeah. Flash them.
Okay, maybe not.
And we'll have to tell them about Patreon,
Patreon, there you go.
Patreon tips.
Send us some Patreon this week, and we'll do next week topless. It might be worth it.
Maybe.
The next morning, she tries to log into her account, but can't do it. She searches for her account and finds that she's online. right now.
Live.
Except she's not. But that does sure look like her on the camera.
Mm-hmm.
She goes into her studio and finds the video playing in there, but there's no one in the actual room, even though it's clearly the same room as on the video. She calls tech support, and they see it too. The show is live, and the person on the video matches her description, so they won't remove it. She then logs in under a different account, but she quickly gets banned. And it quickly becomes obvious that the show is not a rerun. It's live.
It's still going on without her.
So she's watching herself perform a live show in the studio that is empty on her account with her face, and she's not there. So figure it out.
How is this possible?
The next night, her doppelganger is on again, but the new shows are way more popular and creative than the old ones. This happened after she performed at the Camgirl Club, but no one there takes credit for hacking her. Then she calls support again, and now her access code is invalid. Tinker shows up and says Lola told him she loved him last night. Except she wasn't really even on last night. Not really, not her.
Well, and this is a little bit of a discrepancy here. He shows up in real person at her mother's flower or hairdresser studio with flowers, because Lola told him, and she doesn't like Tinker that way.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah. Well, go on, and I'll
she goes to her brother's birthday party.
The issue I had there at that point.
Okay, she goes to her brother's birthday party, and a lot of the young boys there are watching her show that she's live on while she's at the party.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother grabs one of the phones, and now she knows what Alice does for a living.
Cat's out of the bag.
That's a party stopper.
Let's have cake now.
The Alice on the screen pulls out a gun and gets all sexy with it, and then she starts getting really big tips, and her ranking goes way up. Then she blows her head off and gets back up again, just like the trick with the knife.
Mm-hmm. Just fake.
Top 20!
Yay! But it's not really Lola. She's finally in the top 50. Way past the top 50.
Whoever this is doing a better job than she did.
Yeah.
She calls Barney, one of her biggest fans and supporters, and meets him. He seems to know all the girls personally, and he spends a lot of time with them. Alice goes to the restroom, and while she's in there, Lola comes online, and Barney gets a notification about it.
Barney's a little confused.
Barney now knows she's not the same person as on the screen. He gets angry, and he thinks she's trying to scam him. She's not, but it definitely looks that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lola does a pair video with the #1 girl on the site. Alice does some research and tracks down Hannah, that #1 girl, but Hannah's been dead for 6 months. Hannah's done a lot of dual shows over the past 6 months also, with other people.
With other girls, despite not being really there anymore.
She's not alive, and yet she's still working with other people.
And so she puts it together, the real Lola does, that many of these accounts are not really them, not really those girls.
Many of these girls also have Tinker as their #1 friend. Could he be behind all this?
Which does make you wonder.
Alice is cornered by her mother, and her mother says she's actually kind of jealous and supportive of the videos.
And Lola
I don't think my mother would be all that supportive of me doing a porn video, a regular nightly porn video.
Yeah, well, she's an empowered woman, and so
can if you want, I guess.
Proud of, yeah, but
the pay seems to be good.
Yeah.
So Alice tracks down Tink. He's very understanding. He'll do anything for her. Tinker, whose real name is Arnold, says he'll track down whoever's behind this. She confronts him, and he says he can usually tell when girls are going to get copied, but he doesn't know how it works. He insists that he wouldn't do this. Finally, she gets to talk to Lola on a face-to-face chat. You can talk to these people one-on-one for a certain amount of money.
Well, and it's because Tinker was in a private show with Lola.
Right.
And when the real Lola comes in and tasers him, and he's incapacitated in the next room, the show is still on, and
she walks in and can talk to her.
Hi, are you Tinker's girlfriend? I don't recognize you. And she doesn't recognize her.
They're identical looking, but yet the one on the computer doesn't recognize the real one.
Yeah.
Finally, Alice sets up a webcam and does a double pair of video with herself, Lola and Alice together. With both of them on screen at the same time, she hopes to expose the duplicate as what she is.
And that was really cool how she did that. It was kind of
It was a
complicated.
neat visual effect.
Yeah. It was one of the things where, you tip them and they'll do what you tell them. Well, go sit at your vanity. And so she does, and that's the mirror reflection of the fake room. And at the same time, the real Lola is at her real vanity with the camera behind her pointing, and basically it gets an
kind of one of those infinity views.
Yeah, a double infinity on both sides of the projection and the reflection, and yeah.
As they play Monkey See, Monkey Do, Alice starts banging her face into the table, and she finally hits number one by beating her face into the table.
Yeah.
After winning back and deleting her own account, Alice now has an ugly broken nose and a few scars. Now that she looks different, she starts a new account on the Camgirl site and gets right back to work with her new fake identity. We do not learn.
And I thought the ending was a little bit weak because of that she gets right back to it with and her mother says,
it pays good. She's good at it.
Yeah. Well, what if you get stolen again?
Then I'll just start over again.
Yeah.
Make a new account every time. So from the trailers, I expected this movie was about YouTubers, not actual porno cam workers.
Yeah.
Still, it's a good view into what happens with identity theft and the frustrating way tech support actually works with online services. No help at all.
Well, this is an impossible level of identity theft that
literally stealing the identity visually.
Yeah, literally stealing your identity.
Another 10 years though with AI and image generation, you can fake people's voices, you can do Photoshop, why not video?
And you could, yeah.
You're seeing dead actors in movies somewhat regularly now.
Mm-hmm.
They're not quite this convincing, but they're getting there.
Well, there is a mention of a deleted scene.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that's what I was thinking anyway. Because there's no implication of supernatural.
No.
That it's a ghost or a demon or, doppelganger or anything.
There is a scene where she goes back over her own videos and pulls out clips where she uses phrases and words that the new Lola is using. And it looks like Lola may be just stealing some of her old material. But
she's also saying the exact same phrases that some of the other girls are saying too. What it basically is not an AI necessarily, but some kind of consciousness on the web that has become self-aware.
Some algorithm, like,
Yeah.
There are algorithms out there now that will write stories and write music, just completely artificially generated, that more or less makes sense.
And somehow
this is just ahead of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Overall, it's a pretty good story.
I don't think Tinker did it. He
didn't.
He figured it out that it was happening.
He caught on to it.
Which goes back to, he knows that this is happening and the girls are fake, and and the fake girl tells Tinker, I love you and I want you to be mine.
And he still believes it.
And he believes it and shows up at the real world and the real girl, thinking.
Yeah, he knows this is happening, but he falls for her tricks.
Yeah, and that didn't make any sense because he knew she wasn't real.
Had not thought of that. You're right.
Yeah.
Overall, it was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a shot. It's good.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah.
7.5.
Okay, I'll give 7. Yeah. Now for our International Foreign Movie of the Week, Possession from 1981. Directed by...
Dare you to say that.
Andrzej Zulawski. Written by Andrzej Zulawski. Stars Isabella Gianni, Sam Neill, and Margaret Carstensen. 2 hours, 4 minutes. And we got a link to, you can pick it up from Amazon if you're really sadomasochist. Oh wait, wrong show. Anything you'd like to say first?
A brilliant masterpiece of 1980s European horror films. I loved every minute of it.
You should have heard him last night.
There are some actors, used to be Tilda Swinton was one of them until I saw Suspiria. Samantha Morton, Sam Neill, where I just love everything they do. And Sam Neill's in this. I no longer love everything he did. Oh
boy. Oh, where to begin?
A young Sam Neill. Yeah.
Very young, 81, yeah.
Yeah.
Was this before or after The Omen 3? Probably after.
After. I thought it was before.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was before. Yeah.
Mark comes home from a secret work trip to his home in West Germany in 1981 to find that his wife Anna wants a divorce. When he asks why, she says, I don't know. Mark finds a postcard in the apartment with a romantic note on it from Heinrich. She admits to him that yes, there is another man. After a few weeks, change scenes. After a few weeks, Mark has gone a little bit insane. He's having some sort of fit in his apartment. His apartment's all torn up. He hasn't shaved in 3 weeks. And he seems to be having seizures.
Oh, I
don't know why.
He's just really, really drunk, and he's really, well, it's like they so overacted in this. Every, you say she, you just said she says she doesn't know why. She didn't say it like that. She said, I don't know why. I mean,
everything is so incredibly overacted in this movie. It is just so, I can't.
Emotional and angry and loud and shouting and running, and, they can't stop, I'm not exaggerating here.
The acting in this movie.
This is what I'm, they're just, and they're talking and they're just, running their hands through their hair.
There's one scene where she literally just does this for like 5 minutes as she talks.
And just shouting and smashing and...
Oh, the shouting.
Yeah, but anyway.
He cleans himself up and... carrying on, yeah.
Yeah.
He cleans himself up and goes to see his young son, Bob, who's been left alone in the house for a very long time. Mark is angry, and when Anna returns, they fight and then get back together. They fight and get back together. This happens like 12 times.
It happens a lot, yeah. Uh-huh.
Heinrich calls and said she was with him, and she's left Mark in the middle of the night. He calls Anna's friend Margie, and Margie says she hasn't seen Anna for weeks. Mark takes Bob to school, and Bob's teacher looks exactly like Anna. Mark thinks it is the same person, but it's not.
Yeah, same actress.
Yeah, same actress.
Yeah.
Mark goes to see Heinrich, who lives with his mother. Heinrich beats the crap out of Mark, but he also seems very attracted to Mark. Heinrich says he hasn't seen Anna in quite some time.
Yeah, I get the impression that if Heinrich had the chance, he'd go three-way on him. Yeah.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah. But what a punchable face. I mean, what a punchable character.
He's smug.
Yeah.
Mark confronts Anna, and there's a lot more screaming. He beats her up rather graphically.
Mm-hmm.
Mark hires a private investigator to follow Anna. Mark and Anna then fight some more, and Anna jabs herself in the neck with an electric knife. Minutes later, Mark starts cutting into his own arm with it on purpose.
And they're yelling and screaming and smashing the whole time while they're doing this too. Just
the yelling and the screaming and
just
this,
overacting.
Just nonstop.
No, I think not a single line is just said, straightforward.
Casually.
Yeah.
It's all dramatic.
Even when he's going to hire the private detective, did you notice he's all fidgety and spinny in his chair? And
there's no quiet scenes in this movie.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
The detective follows Anna to her apartment, and she acts insane when he comes inside. He sees a slimy thing on the wall, and Anna kills the detective. Heinrich then shows up at Mark's place, and he's high on mushrooms, literally bouncing off the walls.
Yeah,
I had never seen anybody bounce off the walls.
It's like he huffed a whole can of spray paint before he got there or something. But, I think it was mushrooms.
He mentioned mushrooms later.
Yeah, and they were, he was tripping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So again, you got a scene, he's having a conversation, but he's literally rolling around on the walls in the hallway and down the
That was one of the better scenes in the movie, really.
Well,
Mark then sleeps with the teacher, and he doesn't seem to care what happens to Anna after that. Actually, we see 5 or 6 scenes later, he doesn't even know what the teacher's name is.
Yeah.
So, the detective's partner goes looking for the dead detective, and he goes into the apartment and sees a slimy tentacle creature on her bed, and the dead man's body in the corner.
It's like a baby Cthulhu or something. Yeah.
Tentacles.
Yeah.
See, now I'm doing the overacting.
Mm-hmm.
Anna grabs his gun and shoots the second detective repeatedly. Anna then gives a long soliloquy to the audience, talking right through the camera to us. I don't know what she said, just babbling.
Just babbling about it. I think she was trying to explain herself. And it didn't make sense.
Then Mark and Anna scream at each other some more, while Anna writhes her hands dramatically and then grunts at the camera for several long minutes. It's like a solid minute of
Oh, when she's
don't
looking
know.
up at the
Looking
Jesus.
up at the okay.
Yeah, she's.
And then she goes berserk in the subway. If
That's-
you've ever seen a clip from this movie, this is the clip you saw.
Where she.
Wow.
Yeah,
Just
screaming
wow.
and smashing the groceries against the wall, and then she collapses, and yeah. So,
If the movie had been just this scene, I'd have said thumbs up, watch it. The rest of the movie, oh God, it's not worth it. Mark then tells Heinrich where Anna lives, hoping he'll be killed as well. Heinrich sees the thing in the bedroom, which now looks like a cross between a Cenobite and a racer head. Heinrich sees the detective's severed heads in the refrigerator, and then Anna stabs him and he runs off.
yeah, she doesn't quite get him.
He calls Mark and Mark smiles. According to plan.
Mm-hmm.
Mark then goes over there and he finds the heads in the fridge, but doesn't see Anna or the monsters. Mark then meets Heinrich at a bar.
Singular monster. There's only one creature.
There's one in the corner and one in the bed. Each of the detectives became one.
No, the detectives. No, their corpses were all chopped up. No, it was just the one creature.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Mark then meets Heinrich at a bar, knocks him over the head, and drowns him in the toilet. Then he heads over to Anna's place and sets it on fire. Then he goes home, and for some reason, Margie's throat has been cut and she dies too. We didn't see that happen. We don't know who did it. We don't know why.
I do.
Why?
Anna did it.
Well, we didn't see that happen.
What we know by that point.
You only have the crazy person in the movie. Mark goes to Anna's and watches her have sex with a tentacle monster.
Which is more humanoid every time we see it.
It's still got tentacles.
Yeah.
Then he goes to Heinrich's mother's place and tells her that he's dead. She takes a bunch of pills right in front of Mark, then lays down in bed and dies. Boy, that was easy.
It was quick. Yeah.
Mark's employer returns, tempting him to come back to work for them. Then there's a shootout in front of the apartment with lots of explosions for no real reason. Mark wrecks his motorcycle and then limps up the steps to the top of the nearest building, where he sees Anna and a duplicate of himself coming up the stairs. Out of the blue, the police shoot them both with machine guns, and Anna dies. Mark then throws himself off the stairway and dies.
Oh, he was already pretty much dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Then something vague happens to the school teacher and little Bob. The end. Speak.
Well,
You're not using your hands enough. You're not acting.
basically, it was very Hellraiser-ish. Every time she sacrificed or killed the creature, the demon, whatever it was,
It got bigger or stronger and more
became
human.
more manifested in the real world until it became a duplicate of Mark, and that's what that was at the end.
Oh.
That was the creature fully formed.
I
And
thought it was
Marge,
his imagination.
No, Marge was another sacrifice that the creature demanded. Every time sex or death made it more real, and that's how it ended up. And Bob, the kid, was kind of onto it, but the duplicate of Mark comes to the door at the end, and like, let me in. And the teacher's like, no. Well, teacher's yeah, but Bob's like, no, I don't want to know. Don't let him in. Don't let it in.
The movie has been described as a surreal version of a mental breakdown. I'll go with that.
Okay.
If I wasn't reviewing this movie, I'd have turned it off 15 minutes in. Then again at 30 minutes. After 40 minutes, I was at the "you guys don't pay me enough to watch" stage. Then the screaming and raving slowed down for a bit. Then there was the infamous subway scene, and I was back to walking out again. Still, I had to keep watching because I didn't want to be the one to give up on this turd first.
We
were on a roller coaster to hell, and I was daring Kevin to quit first.
I have a
We
quote.
both lost.
I quote myself here. Oh, for sake, there's still almost an hour to go.
I remember that part.
I said that.
Well, I was like that.
I wrote
an hour
that
and
down
45
because I
minutes
thought
to
that
go.
would be amusing for you to hear.
The director supposedly based a lot of this movie on his own real-life divorce, which must have really been something.
Yeah, yeah.
All the actors are a little too loud, a little too exaggerated, and a little too dramatic. It's like watching a play where the actors have to project to a crowded audience.
Like they're working really hard to
better
be
yet,
believed. They can't just talk. They have to,
an
they have to
acting
really angry
course.
and really use their hands and really
An
throw
acting
things.
course
And,
where people
yeah.
have to pour everything they have into
They
a
can't just-
disjointed scene that has no real context.
and I can't just say it.
It's the kind of things actors give other actors awards for because there's so much acting going on.
I don't know.
It's
this is too
pretentious
much.
crap, and I wish I had the puking flu on the night we decided to watch this. It would have been way better. I've heard this movie gets better on the second or third viewing. Oh, hell
I don't want to see it a second time.
I didn't really want to finish the first time. All right. I made fun of Suspiria before. I'm going to stop making fun of Suspiria. This is the worst movie we have ever seen on this show. I will go there. No hesitation, no doubt. This
The
is a
lowest rated
negative
movie.
one movie.
The lowest rated movie that
Oh,
we have seen
God, it's horrible.
in this this.
I
endeavor.
imagine if you watched it 3 or 4 more times, you could suck some meaning into it, but just don't.
So anyway, if you like this movie, prove us wrong. Communicate and tell us why, what you like about it.
And we'll laugh at you.
We'll listen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's our show.
Yes. It
Thanks
is.
for joining us. Stop in during the week at horrorguys.com for news and horror updates, to comment on this podcast, or to contact us. Are we going to watch some movies next week?
We are going to watch some movies next week.
You want to know what they are?
Yeah.
Black Friday from 1940. It's got nothing to do with Thanksgiving.
No.
Our somewhat contemporary classic, The Quatermass Experiment from 1955.
No, I didn't see that when it came out.
No, you didn't.
Because I hadn't been born for some time yet. But I'm all confused. I'm looking forward to, we're going to see the Quatermass trilogy.
There were 3 of them, and we're going to see them
I
over the next
saw
3 weeks.
one of them when it came out, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then later I saw one of the others and out of order, and I don't think I've seen all 3. And
I know I've seen
So
at
I'm
least
looking
one of them,
forward-
but I don't know which.
I'm looking forward to seeing
Yeah.
all 3 in order. And,
They are considered classics.
Mm-hmm.
The very new movie, Truth or Dare, from 2017, and the international feature House, aka Hausu, from 1977, Japanese movie.
Asian.
Give those a
International.
watch this week and see if your opinion matches ours.
Yeah.
Twitter feeds at @HorrorBulletin, and of course Horror Guys Podcast on Facebook. I'm Brian,
I'm Kevin.
and let's overact some more.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See ya.